Hi, this is Dr. Mohammad Fazan Fuzail with another lecture on the basics of ECG. Today we will learn how to calculate the heart rate on the ECG. But before jumping into calculating the heart rate, always make it your habit to look at this number here. The ECG paper speed, that is 25 mm per second. In simple terms, the ECG machine is recording the tracing on the ECG paper at 25 mm per second. In the last lecture, we learned that one small box on x-axis is equal to 1 mm. And since one large box consists of 5 small boxes, so one large box must be equal to 5 mm, right? Now, how many large boxes must be there in 25 mm? 5 large boxes, right? So in simple terms, in 1 second, the ECG machine is producing tracing on 5 large boxes. Got it? Now look at this thing here, this whole thing. From this point to this point. This is a 10-second strip and we call it the rhythm strip. Always, now here again, always make it your habit to calculate the heart rate and determine the rhythm in this 10-second strip, the rhythm strip. Because we need at least a couple of heartbeats to get an idea of what is happening in the heart. We cannot get that idea by just 3 heartbeats like here. Okay, so we need at least a couple of beats like this in rhythm strip, 10-second strip, to get an idea of what is happening in the heart. Now this rhythm strip, traditionally it is the lead 2 that is extrapolated into 10-second strip and we call it rhythm strip, but any lead can act as the rhythm strip. Okay, now this rhythm strip consists of 10 seconds. In 1 second there were 5 large boxes. In 10 seconds there must be 5 into 10, 50 large boxes, right? And similarly in 60 seconds or 1 minute there must be 50 into 6, 300 large boxes. Got it? I wanted to imprint that 300 in your mind. In the last lecture we learned that 1 mm on x-axis is equal to 0.04 second and 5 mm, that is one large box, is equal to zero point 0.2 second. But these measurements were on this speed, 25 mm per second speed. What if we increase the speed to 50 mm like in this ECG? What if we increase the speed to 50 mm? When we increase the speed to 50 mm, all those calculations will change too. Now let's say this is the stellate of the ECG machine and this is the ECG paper. The ECG paper moves in this direction and stellate moves in this direction to draw ECG waves. The stellate moves only when there is electrical conduction, while the ECG paper moves according to the calibration of the ECG machine. Let's say the ECG machine is set to 25 mm per second. The stellate detects the electrical impulse and draws the ECG wave as this. Now let's suppose the ECG paper speed is increased to 50 mm per second. Let me translate and the ECG paper first. Now the ECG speed is increased to 50 mm per second, meaning the ECG paper is moving faster as compared to this one. But the stellate is moving at the same speed because the electrical impulses are coming down the heart at the same rate. So the ECG wave now will look like this. It will cover more area, more large boxes, because the ECG speed is increased but the stellate is moving at the same rate. The duration of waves is the same. The different intervals have the same duration. It's just that area of the tracing is increased. The waves are covering more large boxes now. If let's say at 25 mm per second, one small box on x-axis was 0.04 second. Now at 50 mm per second, one small box will be 0.02 second. Okay, and if at 25 mm per second, one large box was 0.2 second, at 50 mm per second, one large box will be 0.1 second. Okay, that's how changing the speed of the ECG paper changes all the ECG measurements and calculations. Now let's calculate the heart rate. Imprint these numbers in your mind. 300, 150, 100, 75, 60. Imprint these numbers in your mind. There are many ways to calculate heart rate. We can calculate heart rate by counting the number of large waves between two consecutive R waves, like this R wave and this R wave. We can count the number of large boxes, and the other way is by counting the number of small boxes between two consecutive R waves. Here I am going to explain how to calculate heart rate by counting the number of large boxes between two consecutive R waves. The formula is this: 300 divided by R interval in large boxes, because we are going to count the number of large boxes between two RRs. Now what is this number? We have already learned that in 1 minute there are 300 large boxes. I have already told you that. And since the heart rate is measured in minutes, beats per minute, that is what this number is: 300. In 1 minute there are 300 large boxes. This is what that number is. Now if there is one large box between two R waves, the heart rate will be 300 divided by one large box is equal to 300. This 300. If there are two large boxes between two consecutive R waves, 300 divided by two large boxes is equal to 150. This one. If there are three large boxes between two consecutive R waves, 300 divided by 3 is equal to 100. This 100. And if there are four large boxes between two consecutive R waves, 300 divided by 4 is equal to 75. This 75. And if there are five large boxes, then the heart rate will be 60. This 60. Here The number of large boxes is somewhere between 4 and 5, almost 4.5. So the heart rate must be almost 68, 67, almost somewhere between there. You can also calculate heart rate by counting the number of small boxes between two R waves. For that, the formula will be this one: 1500 divided by RR interval in small boxes. Likewise, we calculated the heart rate by counting large boxes between two R waves. Uh, in similar way, we can calculate the heart rate by counting the number of small boxes between two consecutive R waves. Now, how to calculate the heart rate when the speed is set to 50 mm per second? Well, the formula is the same, that is 300 divided by RR interval between RR interval in large boxes. But here now one large box is equal to 0.1 second. So we can say that two large boxes is equal to 0.2 second. At 25 mm in the previous ECG, one large box was 0.2 second. Here two large boxes make 0.2 second. So instead of calculating one large box as 300 and two large boxes as 150, we can calculate two large boxes as 300 for the sake of simplicity. Okay, four large boxes as 150, six large boxes as 100, eight large boxes as 75, 10 large boxes as 60. Okay, this is for the sake of simplicity because now the calculation and measurements have changed. A lot of students ask me how to calculate the heart rate when the rhythm is irregular. Like here, this ECG shows atrial fibrillation. In atrial fibrillation, or when the rhythm is irregular, and in bradycardias, we simply count the number of QRS complexes in this rhythm strip, in 10-second strip, and multiply it by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we count the number of QRS complexes in this 10-second strip and multiply it by 6. 22 multiply 6, almost 130, 132 maybe. The same formula is used when there is bradycardia. Okay, now the speed is again 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 7 multiply 6 is equal to 42. So the heart rate is 42. This is bradycardia. That's it for today. See you in the next lesson.